everyone. Welcome to April's Wine of the Month Club. My name's Katryana Zide, and I'm the pastry chef and the chocolatier here at the winery. For today's demo, we're going to be going over a Buttermilk Panna Cotta with a Saffron Lemon Curd, and we're going to be pairing it with our Off-Dry Riesling from the winery. Has a beautiful color, and in the nose, you're going to get hints of like gardenia and honeysuckle. And in the taste, you're going to get some nice fresh fruits such as pears and nectarines. This is going to go very nice with our dessert today. For the Buttermilk Panna Cotta, we're going to first start with blooming our gelatin. I just have some powdered gelatin right here, and I'm using a measuring cup. It's a nice small vessel for holding the water, and the gelatin's going to be poured into the water. You don't want to pour the water into the gelatin or else it's going to clump up and the hydration of the gelatin won't happen properly. So giving this a little bit of a stir, and we're going to set this aside. While that's hydrating, we're going to start heating up our mixture. So in a sauce pot, I have some cream and some granulated sugar. I'm keeping the buttermilk separate because when you heat up buttermilk, it tends to separate, and we don't want that separation to happen. The addition of the buttermilk will be happening later on in the process. As this heats up, we're looking for the sugar just to dissolve. We don't need the cream to actually come to a boil. If you have a dairy allergy, feel free to switch out the buttermilk with cashew milk, almond milk, rice milk. Any milk alternative absolutely works. So we're looking for this consistency, taut enough to melt down that sugar. Now with the heated liquid, I'm going to add in our gelatin. We're going to stir this in until the gelatin fully melts. Panna cotta is considered a very famous Italian dessert, although it's not actually a very old dessert. Historically, it only came about around the 1900s, and that was because of the actual cultivation of extracting gelatin properly. It wasn't until the steam cooker, pressure cooker, was invented that granulated sugar became more readily available to the kitchens. So although this is a very famous dessert, it's considered very young as far as food history goes. Panna cotta, as I mentioned before, is from Italy, and it stands for cooked cream. Now that our gelatin's fully incorporated and melted down, now we add the buttermilk. Okay, you're gonna give this a good stir for about 30 seconds. And this is gonna be gently just poured into the measuring cup. For the dessert today, we're going to be casting this in two different forms. As mentioned, it's April, so that means it's Easter and Passover. Eggs carry huge significance in those holidays, and I would like to showcase that by showing the dessert being casted in an egg mold. You'll notice in the recipe there's 2 gelatin amounts and 2 water amounts. Smaller amount is going to be for in a cup, and that's going to make the panna cotta be a little bit weaker. It won't hold itself up, and it'll be a little bit more supple in texture. The higher amount of gelatin will be able to hold its amount and its shape in the egg mold or any mold shape that you wish to have. It's going to be a little bit firmer, have a little bit more chew to it. We'll pour them in here as so. If you find that there's any air bubbles on top of the panna cotta after you've poured it, you can eliminate those bubbles with a blowtorch or a little fan. Now that our molds have been casted, these are going to go into the refrigerator for at least an hour. It can stay in the refrigerator for up to 3 days. Now that our panna cotta is setting in the fridge, we're going to work on the saffron lemon curd. I have some lemon juice in here, and it's going to be heated up in the microwave or on the stove, whatever your preference is. And then once it's been heated up, you're gonna add in a couple pinches of saffron. Saffron has a beautiful yellowish color that it likes to release once it's been heated up. And it will have a lovely earthy tone that's gonna carry through the lemon curd and complement the minerality of the wine. After about 15 minutes, you'll see that the coloring from the saffron has infused itself into the lemon juice. Just like we did with the Buttermilk Panna Cotta, I'm gonna be blooming the gelatin. We'll set this off to the side while it blooms. We'll start heating up our mixture. I have eggs here. I'm gonna give them a quick mix up just to break the yolks. So in our sauce pot, we're gonna add our sugar, and we're going to add our saffron infused lemon juice, and we'll be adding our lemon zest. Coming over to the stove, we'll be heating this up. And when it starts to simmer, we'll begin incorporating it with our eggs. Now that we've seen it starting to bubble, we're gonna slowly add it to our egg mixture. This is called tempering in your eggs. So slowly and very gradually add the hot liquid to your eggs. If you add your liquid too fast, you're going to be creating actual scrambled eggs. So it's very important that this is a very patient process. Now that it's mixed in, you're going to return everything back to the pot, and then we're going to go back to the stove. During this part with the curd on the stove, you're going to want to whisk decently fast. You're going to see it begin to thicken. And that is because the eggs are starting to cook. So constant whisking is going to keep that homogeneous texture. As the curd begins to thicken, we're looking for about what the texture would be of mayonnaise. I will turn off the heat and let the carryover heat continue that cooking process. While the curd is still hot in the pot, it's going to be added to a food processor. If you don't have a food processor, you can use an immersion blender. You can also use just a regular blender. Anything that is going to whip at high speed and do a lot of the work for you. While this is mixing, you're going to see the steam coming out. If the mixture is too hot, that means it might deactivate your gelatin. So we're looking for that steam to disappear. So you can see the gelatins come together quite nicely, and it can be just torn into little pieces as so and added to your food processor. Next, we're going to be adding cold butter. You want to make sure your butter is very cold. If it's too warm, it's going to just liquefy and your lemon curd is going to become separated, and you're going to see that separation of the butter. We'll let that finish mixing up. You can use your spatula to just hold the blade of the food processor as you pour it into the bowl so it doesn't fall out into your dish. And this will be covered with plastic wrap and put into the refrigerator to chill until it firms up. It'll take about an hour. Now that it's been an hour since the Buttermilk Panna Cotta has been setting, it's a lot more firm. As you can see, you can touch it. It's going to have a nice firmness to it, a little bit of a supple texture. For the egg mold, as I mentioned, it's Easter. It also happens to be April Fool's Day. So why not have fun with your food? So I'm taking a melon baller. It's been in hot water. And in the egg mold, I'm going to create a little indent right here of where the egg yolk would be in an actual egg. So now that we've made the little holes inside of the eggs, very, very gently, once again, patience, pop it out. And you see we got a fun looking egg right here. So now that we have our panna cotta taken out of its mold or in the ramekin of your choice, we're going to do our final plate up. I have the lemon curd that's been sitting in the refrigerator. As you can see, that saffron has given a very yellow, beautiful color to this lemon. It helps it pop a lot more against the contrast of the Buttermilk Panna Cotta. In a piping bag, I have just a little star tip here. A little trick. If you don't have a deviled egg holder to hold these eggs, you can always take a little bit of the filling and just pipe it underneath the egg and then set the egg on top. That's gonna act as glue. And then with the same star tip, I'm gonna pipe that curd inside of the egg. If you're not doing a molded dessert and you're just going straight into a bowl or a ramekin, you'll pipe some of your lemon curd on the sides or in the middle, whatever your preference is. I like seeing the panna cotta, so I tend to favor a crescent moon shape when I'm piping. And now it's time just to have fun and garnish. Based upon the type of dessert wine you're going to be drinking with this is where you're gonna wanna go in favor and think about that. So we have some beautiful violas here. If you have a honeysuckle plant, definitely garnish with that, especially if it's going to be paired with the Off-Dry Riesling. I have some tarragon here. That herbal note is going to favor through and just add a little bit of savory to the dish. I also have some basil here if you want to stick on that savory note. For the plate up today, I'm going to be using strawberries and kiwis. So here's what the plated up version would look like if it's in a ramekin. You can use additional saffron to go on top. And that's definitely helpful if you're gonna trick someone with a deviled egg. Although it's a dessert, salt is still very much needed. Adding salt to a dessert helps bring those flavors together and it helps your taste buds open up while you're tasting. So you're gonna taste more from your food than you were expecting. Thank you for joining us for April's Wine of the Month Club cooking demo. I hope you really enjoyed learning about the Buttermilk Panna Cotta and the Saffron Lemon Curd. Until next time, cheers.